Welcome to Policy on Demand. I'm Burt, and I'm joining you from our Customs and International Trade Conference in Dallas, Texas. I'm joined by two of our transfer pricing partners, Lauren Dangelmayr and Matt Haag. Welcome.
Thank you, Brian.
Great to be here.
Matt, let me start with you. In today's complex trade environment, one of the things that companies are having to deal with is the complexity that trade environment is leading to from a transfer pricing perspective. More than half of all imports and exports are intercompany, which puts a lot of pressure on companies to comply with transfer pricing. How do you see companies addressing this?
I see the complexity here being that as goods are imported into the United States, a lot of them are from related parties, so that puts a lot of pressure on proving things are arm's length from a transfer pricing perspective. As we look at these tariffs, the cost of goods is increasing for those physical goods coming to the United States, so the prices need to adjust in order to still achieve the arm's length outcomes from the US importer's perspective. So that's one of the areas where we have to look not only at the direct impact of the tariffs on the business, but also indirectly on transfer pricing and taxation.
And Lauren, I'll shift to you now, but before I do, just for everyone's sake, you led an in-house transfer pricing department before you joined PwC. So if you think about all of the different functions that factor into managing transfer pricing beyond just transfer pricing and tax, how have you seen companies use those multi-function departments to come together and solve these issues?
I think that in the past, transfer pricing and trade compliance looked at each other when we made transfer pricing adjustments, but then we kind of kept a little bit more of a siloed approach, and transfer pricing focused on their partnership with supply chain, with treasury, with finance. And I think now is a really important time to think about how every time there is a transfer across a border, right, there is an impact to trade compliance, to your customs, to what's happening. So meeting and bringing trade compliance to the table with tax is a really good approach.
What are companies doing to mitigate some of these tariff impacts? Matt, maybe I'll start with you.
Sure, there's several things, and I think we have to classify them into what are they doing in the short term and what are they doing more in the middle to long term around these. I think in the short term, they're looking to different opportunities around either accelerating or stockpiling inventory if that's possible. They're looking to setting up foreign trade zones or free trade zones, depending on how you call it. And in some cases, they're looking at either duty drawback or first sale for export. So there's various customs opportunities. Each of those has a tax and transfer pricing ramification. So again, it's just getting people to work hand in hand and be at the table together when they talk. Longer term, it could be changing supply chain, changing where manufacturing is, changing where certain components are sourced from. All of that, again, has tax and transfer pricing implications.
And that's where that collaboration that Lauren talked about is so important, because you have all the different functions coming together to make the right long-term decisions for the organization. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I think sometimes just even bringing everyone in the same room together, right, and have the whiteboard session to talk about what are the interplays between each of the individual planning strategies that they're working on is a great perspective to bring the teams together.
Maybe one final question for both of you, and this is not an easy one, but if you had a crystal ball and you were to look into the future, and let's say we're in spring of 2026, so a year from now, what do you think the transfer pricing landscape is going to look like in this broader context of tariffs and trade?
I think we'll be responding to a lot of changes, Brian, right? We've done a lot of planning and we've been thinking about what's happening. And I think with all the changes with headcount within the IRS, kind of the challenges that ATMA might be looking at, we've always gone to ATMA with MAP, with competent authority concerns. And I think this is an opportunity for us to think very proactively, strategically about how we can put documentation, strategy together to tell the story of all these changes, this partnership, these adjustments.
Great.
So maybe to add to that, well, we see the reduction in force in the IRS and all of that programs, we see no reduction in foreign tax audits.
Right.
And I think that'll come into play here as this puts pressure on the import prices into the US and the retaliation from foreign countries, and all of that is going to lead to additional controversy elements, both US and domestic.
That's a great point. Well, thank you both. I appreciate the time today. Those are great insights. Thank you.